Checking 1, 2, check, check, check. Checking 1, 2, check, check, check. Okay. We're good to go. There we are. All right. Got all my stuff. Let's get started. Good morning. My name is Ryan. Welcome to Coffee and Resales, where we talk about stuff I find at yard sales, flea markets, and garage sales. Try to make a couple bucks on them online. I live stream a bunch of mornings, and then so occasionally post this stuff on in the afternoons, and talk about what I sold, what I found, any issues coming around, answer questions as they arise. Trying to grow the channel just to see how this works out. So, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll go with that. Today, had an okay weekend selling. Bought a couple things, but haven't found a whole lot the last few days. Last week at Goodwill was a little bit of a wash, but that's fine because like the previous weeks have been really decent with some finds. I sold some stuff at Flea Market. Now I'm going to talk about how that went, because it went okay. Had better days, but I've had way worse. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So starting out, stuff that sold this weekend, really good sale. Which was, let's go here. We'll start off with low to high. Start off. This is not vintage. If it was, it'd go for more probably. Old style Cherry Coke women's crop t-shirt, $6, sitting on it a little too long. Those Cherry Coke, so the reason I bought it is because it said Cherry Coke on it, and so, which is a little bit of a unique item. So and it was I think I got it for, the most I paid for it was $1. So that's why I snagged it. Next up is one, I thought this was going to go a little bit more, but it didn't. But this is still profit, actually. This is a women's maternity Death Star, that's no moon, ruched shirt. Good condition, $10. One of the major disappointments, I think, is because I'm a Star Wars guy and nerd and comic books and all that sort of thing. I grew up reading and watching and that sort of thing. And I see nerd culture stuff on the shelf, and it's a lot more mainstream now. Back when I was growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of, occasionally you'd find Spider-Man or Superman or Batman stuff. Maybe if there was a movie out or something like that. But the comic book stuff, you had to order it at magazines. It wasn't on the rack. And now it's showing up in thrift stores, and flipping it is actually a challenge. It has to be a really kind of unique item. And sometimes not even then can you move it. And so I've actually gone through a couple of stages where I bought superhero stuff and sold very little of it. And so I have to really double check when I find something as to whether or not I'm going to keep it. Sometimes my kids like some of that stuff, and so if the size is right, I'll pass it on to them. But otherwise, some of that stuff is like, not really. So unless it fits me or it's something I want, and if I look, I gotta be careful and look it up so it doesn't take up too much room. So that's where that goes. Anyway, moving on. We have Christmas. More Christmas stuff. Sold these two. These are older reindeer, old plastic reindeer. 80s. I think these are probably from the 70s, possibly the 60s. $10 for the pair, which is about in line. I think I started them off a little bit higher. I took and nobody, it was showing real interest. So I was dragging them down. I think I had them for 17 and took an offer for 10. And this is stuff I had stashed away, so from my childhood that we didn't need anymore. So that's a good little sale there for somebody to get to Christmas. Next up, Eric HVAC, $11.11 for a Trade Pro thermostat. I picked a handful of these up for like $1 a piece. I think I've picked up 3 or 4. I've sold 2, and I've got one more up there that's like a way better model. So I've been selling them between $10 and $15 a piece. I think I got 20 for one of them. But I mean, it's electronics, HVAC. They powered on. I put batteries in them and they powered on. So I figured worth a shot for thermostats. So, and that's been because everybody needs a thermostat. So I think it was a guy who did HVAC work, and folks just wanted them replaced, so he pulled them. And so I got them at a yard sale, $1 a piece. No complaints so far. So I've picked up a handful of HVAC parts at a couple of yards, like guys doing stuff out of their garage or whatever. I actually had a bunch of capacitors and relays, and those have been selling. Those have been selling pretty well over. I guess I got them all last winter because I remember being cold when I got them. At an estate sale, a guy had a box full in his garage of new old stock capacitors and a few relays, and those have steadily been selling between $10 and $20 a piece. So I got a few more left, but most of them have sold. Just making sure I'm kind of the cheapest on eBay on those things, and they go pretty quick. So next up, final sale. Well, I have one sale that hadn't been paid yet, and that's these pair of Marie Lu graphic novels by. This is one of those that this sold for $7 or $8 for these two, and if I had the third one, the per book would have gone up higher. That's like a $15 set if you've got all three. It's one of those things. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Sometimes that honestly doesn't always necessarily make sense to me sometimes. But it also does in another aspect where people don't want to bother having to buy a complete collection. They'd rather people don't want to bother piecing together a collection. They'd rather buy the whole thing all at once, and are willing to pay a little bit extra sometimes, even when if they put a little more work in, maybe they could get everything for cheaper. Not necessarily the case. So these two, and it wasn't worth me going out and getting the other book to make the sale, to run it up either, because that would have been after fees and all that sort of stuff and shipping, just wasn't worth it. So anyway, those two for $7-8. That's fine. Been holding them. Some of this stuff just glad to see head out. Finally, my good sale. I think I started this one at about $200 because of I thought there were some comps that were a little bit lower. Where did it start? It was one of those situations where I think I saw this for $65. I wanted to say I saw comps like people buying it without best offer in like the $70 to $80 range. So, okay, whatever. So I ran it up to about $150 just to see. And I've been drawing it down over, I think I got this about 6-8 months ago. And I've been drawing it down ever since. And finally had interest from one guy who whined about the price. And I probably wound up selling it to what he wanted to buy it for, but that's fine. Because I just wasn't sure. I didn't know. And I was gradually drawing the price down. Finally I had about $75, $80. Somebody offered me $65 and I took it. This book, I think this book cost me a dime. I think I paid 10 cents for this. I didn't pay more than $1. I know that for certain. This is F-15 Crew Chief's Handbook. Technical. This is by Northrop Grumman, sort of a manual. So technical books sell really well. There's nothing secret about what's in this book. I mean, you can probably find most of this stuff online. At one point in the 80s, it may have been. But you can gradually, you can find in military technical manuals, the stuff that the instruction stuff. I've run across a handful of instruction stuff over the years. Some of them are worth money, some of them aren't worth anything. It just depends on the year and what you got. But it's also one of those things I always pick them up because, and I'll explain why in a few minutes about flea markets, that I always grab them if I see them for $1 or less because I know where I can move them. So I actually have a different book that's like illegal in England because it's combat stuff. So anyway, $65 for that F-15 Crew Chief's Handbook. That's a real good price, real good find. And this will, I'm hoping I have a box for this because I'm gonna box this up. Books over about $30, give or take, depending on what it is, they go in a box. And I recommend anything that's has some value in it, don't just put it in a padded mailer or put it in the mail. Put it in a padded mailer and put it in the box. So your buyer will appreciate it greatly. So, all right. Couple of finds, and both of these were from the flea market. Well, I got a couple other things too. But best ones were from the flea market this weekend. But I did hit Goodwill. Excuse me. That's for the kids. Couple of books. Couple of American Girl books. I've got a lot up on eBay right now. I'm going to add these to it and bump it up by a couple bucks. So American Girl books are some of those that work well as a lot. Just, make sure you get them at the right price. I picked these up 50 cents a piece. The plan is to get about $2 a book in a big lot. So we'll see how that goes. Finally, and the other one I found at Goodwill, I Survived. I'm on a tear right now of selling I Survived books. I pick them at particularly on Facebook Marketplace in certain niche, either children's or homeschool groups. People love these things. So I Survived books, 50 cents a piece or cheaper. Snag them, and sometimes you can get even like $3 or $4 a piece for them. So worth grabbing and bundling. I'm a big bundler for some reason. Well, niche. Okay. Finally, we're going to talk about flea market. First, what I found at the flea market. This is a box. This is an empty box. I got this control, a couple of these came in it. This one's missing some parts, but I got the other half of a controller. And I got another attachment piece that came in it. The lady brought this out. Saying something about, she brought it out because she forgot it at home the last time she came out. Well, this box, it's got a little tear in it, but this is the box to the limited edition, special edition, Animal Crossing Switch. And a box in really good condition, perfect condition, went for about $50 for the box. So what I'm going to do is this has a tear in it, and there's another one up for like $25. Is I'm going to put this box up for $25 and see if I can't get it. It's an empty box, but it is stuff like this. If you bought a Switch used, it's nice to have the box to it. It adds value. It is made precisely for that item. So, and maybe even if somebody's giving one away this Christmas, getting the box for it would be nice so they could give it to their kid rather than just that. So, that is the plan on that. Thankfully, with Ground Advantage shipping, I don't have to ship this priority. I'll be able to save some money. I may break it down and ship it flat, depending on what box I have to ship it in. I'm not bagging this, and I'm not just throwing a label on it. This is going to go in a box and get shipped out. That's what I'm going to do. So but I may break it down because it's not taped or glued, but it'll just depend on what I've got available. So boxes too expensive to game systems. Don't pass on them. If you see them by the side of the road, grab them. There is value in them. The shipping's the tricky thing because of the dimensions. So, but the weight isn't. So there you go. So anyway, so we're thinking about finally a model. That's a beat up old model. Nope, it is unbuilt. So it looks like it's got all the parts to it. So a couple of things are off the trees. So and it was $1. So I will buy any unbuilt model for $1, even with a beat up box and that sort of thing. I saw these going for about 30, 35, like unopened fresh. So I'm thinking 15 to 20 bucks I'll be able to get on this. So again, ground advantage. This ship's a lot cheaper than going priority. It's almost half. Something like this, shipping's about half, give or take, of what it used to cost to ship. I'm not worried about shipping this to California anymore. If somebody in California buys it and not really making money. So anyway, finally, one other find that came is this Dell laptop. I fished it out of a dumpster, and actually I fished 3 out of a dumpster. One had a bad hard drive. This one seems fine. What I did is I plugged it in, reformatted it. Seems to crank along pretty good. Haven't had to use it for anything. I don't know what I'm going to do with it quite yet, because it doesn't have any essential. It's not like it's really useful for me right now. So I may flip it. I may hang on to it. All I did was I went and bought a power cord for it and reformatted it because the guy was dumb enough to leave the hard drive in it, which you never should do when you're disposing of your computers. Pull the hard drives out, and if you don't know how, find someone who does. Anyway, enough fussing about that. Flea Market did fine. Made about, let's see, I grossed $170, which is okay. I'd rather hit that $200 mark. I think I have a previous video where I discussed trying something different where I work and setting up outside, and it didn't pan out because I only made $60, and 20 of that to somebody helping me. So, but if I had combined all that, okay, I'm kind of throwing these two together. So that's over 200. So that's a pretty good day. Because I know what I sold at that garage sale, and it would have sold at the flea market, I'm pretty convinced. So, an okay day, particularly considering the difficulty we had setting up. I almost didn't get good tables. I like getting 3 tables together. I have a small SUV, and I can fit 3 of their big concrete tables, and I bring 2 small 4-footers to the flea market and set them up. I can fit just enough stuff in my CRV to fill that up. I don't have to worry about am I bringing enough stuff or am I not bringing enough stuff, because for whatever reason the quantity of that fits the tables. So, but the flea market was so busy that the only reason I got these 3 tables together is because a dude had to leave. I may not have gotten the table, or I would have been scrambling to find one or two. But I like getting 3 tables together, and was able to do that. So, we did that. Got a buddy of mine who actually had one of the tables. So I'm sitting here with 2 and a couple on the side that are hard to get to. So me and my kid, we're out there selling. Here's what we sold. I had a couple of Ford Model T tools, sold $10 cash, which is about what I would have made net selling them on a platform like eBay. sold a handful of other tools. Not a whole mess of a lot. Sold a ton of toys. Sold a lot of 124 size cars. That's the ones. See this? This is a little bit bigger than this. Sold a lot of 124 size cars. Sold a lot of the the Hot Wheels monster trucks. Sold a handful of those, all at like $2 a piece. Sold a handful of $1 cars. A lot of the kids walking by, their parents letting know. I put all my bins of Hot Wheels on the ground. Kids walking by, a lot of parents selling, letting them buy 2 cars for $1. Because that's what I let those go for. Sold a good chunk of action figures. A lot more inexpensive action figures, stuff out there. I was selling. Basically, what I was telling guys is, 2 figures here, $2 in this bin. Collectors don't flinch at that price. I was like selling $2 a piece and rounding down, to the easiest denomination. So, selling 8 figs for $15, something like that. And guys weren't flinching at that price. And guys knowing what they were getting were grabbing it. It wasn't a problem. It was great. So, sold a couple of books. I brought a bunch of old books out there, but I actually was limited in space and didn't pull out the books I should have, which were my Civil War books. Those wound up staying in the car, and I messed that up because that was some sales I probably missed. So, but that was another $10 maybe at best. The vintage books don't seem to go out there, so I am going to bring the vintage books up and put them for sale as decorative at like $3 a piece in lots and see how that goes. But it was a good day. Bought a few things. Found some Lego sets for really inexpensive. But that was kind of my son who came with us. That was his payment. I bought him the Lego sets. So whenever I bring a kid out there, it's an automatic $20. When they get to be a teenager, it's 25%. So that they know, on top of they have their own box in my garage. Is like, this is the stuff I want to resell. I want to sell. I don't need anymore. I want to sell it, and they get to keep all the money off their own stuff. So that's that. That's that story. I like doing flea market. I'll probably do another one. There's usually a weekend right before Christmas. One of the 2 weekends before Christmas that for some reason is always a nice day, and I bring stuff out there and it sells well. It's kind of uncanny. But I'm also going to have to be a lot more discriminate. I'm going to have to get out there a lot earlier because I don't have an account set up. Now, I probably should have, but I may have to do that next time because I can't just call and do a credit card over the phone anymore to get to reserve a table. So that is that. And y'all have a good Thanksgiving. I'm going to be off the air for about a week, give or take, because I got stuff to do. And so do you. So you don't need to be sitting around watching me on YouTube ramble on about stuff. You need to be doing something for Thanksgiving. So y'all go do that. Have a good day. Like, comment, subscribe. Watch more videos on the channel. Tell me what you think. Ask some questions. And we will go from there.